Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana. Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana. Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishwaya Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Kacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Esi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishwaya Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Kacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kundgiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai, Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samalivatis, all glories to the Samalivatis, all glories to the Samalivatis, All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pasyabhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschata Vedatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Today we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 8th chapter, sloka number 72. Tri Ratrante Tri Ratrante Kapita Badara Asanaha Atmavritti Anusarena Masam Ninye Archayan Harim Triratrante Triratrante Kapita Badara Sanaha Atma Vidyanusarena Masam Ninyecharyan Harim Triratrante Triratrante Kapita Badara Sanaha Atma Vidyanusarena Masam Ninyecharyan Harim Triratrante Triratrante Kapita Badara Sanaha Atma Vidyanusarena Masam Ninyecharyan Harim. Vaishnavis, Three. Ratra ante. At the end of night. Three. Ratra ante. At the end of night. Kapita badara. Fruits and berries. Asanaha. Eating. Atmavritti. Just to preserve the body. Anusarena. As it was necessary. Minimum. Masam. 1 month. Sri Sri Gaurnitai ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Ninye passed away, Archayan, worshipping Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: for the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries, one every third day. No, sorry. On every third day. Only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Divine Grace et si Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Kapita is a flower which is known in Indian vernacular as kayeta. We do not find an English equivalent for the name of this flower, but its fruit is generally not accepted by human beings. It is eaten by monkeys in the forest. Dhruva Maharaj, however, accepted such fruits not for luxurious feasting, but just to keep his body and soul together. The body needs food, but a devotee should not accept foodstuff to satisfy the tongue in sense gratification. It is recommended in Bhagavad Gita that one should accept as much food as necessary to keep the body fit, but one should not eat for luxury. Dhruva Maharaj is an acharya, and by undergoing severe austerities and penances, he teaches us how one should execute devotional service. We must carefully know the process of Dhruva Maharaj's service. How severely he passed his days will be shown in later verses. We should always remember that to become a bona fide devotee of the Lord is not an easy task. But in this age, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it has been made very easy. But if we do not follow even the liberal instructions of Lord Chaitanya, how can we expect to discharge our regular duties in devotional service? It is not possible in this age to follow Dhruva Maharaj in his austerity, but the principles must be followed. We should not disregard the regulative principles given by our spiritual master, for they make it easier for the conditioned soul. As far as our ISKCON movement is concerned, we simply ask that one observe the 4 prohibitive rules, chant 16 rounds, and instead of indulging in luxurious eating for the tongue, simply accept prasad offered to the Lord. This does not mean that with our fasting, the Lord should also fast. The Lord should be given foodstuff which is as nice as possible. But we should not make it a point to satisfy our own tongues. As far as possible, we should accept simple foodstuff just to keep the body and soul together to execute devotional service. It is our duty to remember always that in comparison to Dhruva Maharaj, we are insignificant. We cannot do anything like what Dhruva Maharaj did for self-realization, because we are absolutely incompetent to execute such service. But by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we have been given all concessions possible for this age. So at least we should always remember that neglect of our prescribed duties in devotional service will not make us successful in the mission we have undertaken. It is our duty to follow in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj, for he was very determined. We should also be determined to finish our duties in executing devotional service in this life. We should not wait for another life to finish our job. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakham Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Narada Muni has given all his instructions to Bhakta Dhruva Maharaj, and after giving his instruction, Narada Muni went to the palace of King Uttanapad to see what was the situation there in the palace. Narada Muni knew that Maharaj Uttanapad had insulted Dhruva Maharaj. For that reason, Dhruva Maharaj had left the palace for good. And now he can see also that Maharaj Uttanapad is also very much upset for what he has done. It seems that he was compelled to act in such a manner without his will or without his deliberation. Certainly he had great affection for his son Dhruva, but he was taken away by his wife Suruchi. As in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking questions from Lord Krishna, is telling that sometimes we do not want to act in a sinful manner against our own will. How is it that we do activities which are detrimental to our own benefit in this manner? So Lord Krishna understands the questions and replies that karma isha, krodha isha, rajoguna, samudbhava. So we are under the mode of passion and we are completely under the grip of material nature. We cannot control our own movements of the mind, words, body, because material nature is simply forcing us to act in many different ways against our own will, against our own benefit. So that is the mother passion that makes us act in such a wrong manner. So Rajoguna Samudbhava, Kama Isha. Kama means lust. So the king happened to be very much inclined towards his one of his wife, this Suruchi. And therefore, whatever Suruchi was doing, whatever she was telling, then he was simply following. So certainly that was against his own will. But he was under the impulse of lust. So that is the lesson that we derive from this incident, that we should not let lust, greed, envy, and other low qualities to rule us. How is it possible? As we have been since time immemorial under the conduct of nature, prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa. We are completely under the guidance of nature, and we forget our own real nature. So that is the situation here very clearly. From this incident we understand, and we should make also introspection whether we are also following the footsteps of Uttanapada, our lusty propensities. Are we under such guidance? And therefore we are in this way missing the real point, the real destination of life, which is to keep these low qualities under control. The mind, the senses, the intelligence should be properly guided. Otherwise, our life is completely wasted. So Maharaj Uttanapad, especially under the influence of Narada Muni, now he has realized completely his mistake, and he has given up. It's already described earlier that he has given up his kingdom in order to improve his life, giving up whatever he was doing before. So he has realized that he was completely under the impulse of low qualities, lust, anger, greed, and so on. So he's going to improve his life by giving up his palace and his position as a king in this manner, developing detachment. So generally the sannyasis, they don't go to big kings or political leaders. Just like the example of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu avoided to meet King Pratapadra in Puri, although King Pratapadra was being introduced to Lord Chaitanya by many of his associates, telling the Lord that no, he is a great devotee. He is not ordinary political leader. He wants to see you. He has become very much impressed by your devotion, by your chanting, the Sankirtan with all your followers, and he wants to meet you. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not at all convinced, and he refused to meet him. It is only during the Rath Yatra festival that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had opportunity, or the king had opportunity to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by doing humble service, pada seva, massaging his feet and like this. So otherwise, a sannyasi by Vedic principles is avoiding such personalities because they are too much engrossed in materialistic ideas. And sannyasi doesn't want to become contaminated by such association. He always remains aloof from materialistic people. But here we see Narada Muni going on his own to the palace with the intention to meet the king. So there's a different principle here. Narada Muni is not following this sannyasi principle. He is above all that. He is completely transcendental spaceman. Going to hell or heaven for him is the same. He goes for preaching. He goes to enlighten everyone. And why not the leaders? Why not the political men and the kings? Also, they need to be enlightened. Srila Prabhupada met many times political leaders with the intention to give them Krishna consciousness, not for any other purpose. And he also directed us to do the same. Here in this sloka, the beginning of Dhruva Maharaj, tapasya and sadhana is being described. Following the instruction of Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj very faithfully went in the direction of Mathura, Madhuban, the bank of the Yamuna, and immediately on arrival in Madhuban, he took his bath in the river Yamuna. So in this way, he started to execute the instructions he had received from Narada Muni. And throughout his sadhana, he very carefully followed these instructions. And that is why he was successful. In the sloka number 71, Srila Prabhupada has very given emphasis to following the instructions of the spiritual master very faithfully, strictly, and with great determination, without adding or subtracting anything, without any type of interpretation. One should follow the order of the spiritual master. In this way, the spiritual practice becomes successful. Otherwise, it is only speculating on what is spiritual, what is material. We have no idea how to make advancement in spiritual life. It is only by hearing, by receiving the instructions of the spiritual master and following them with great attention and care, using our good intelligence. Of course, it is not blind following. As in the Bhagavad Gita also, Srila Prabhupada makes a comment that following the spiritual master is not blind following. There is an anecdote in this respect that a guru was going along with his disciples on a horse cart, and the disciples were not intelligent. They were quite foolish, unfortunately for the guru. And they were all packed up behind. The guru was on the front side. And the guru had told them, okay, we are going this side. And so the cart was full with the different belongings along with the disciples. So at one point, the cart was going on the way, on the road, and something fell down from the cart, some luggage. So after a few minutes, the guru is asking his disciples, please give me my bag. I want to open my bag. Oh, the bag disappeared already, fell down on the road. So they stopped the horse cart. They went back. One disciple went back, brought the bag, and put it on the cart. And this way they again resumed their journey. So the guru told them very strictly, see, don't be so foolish. Whatever falls down from the cart, please take it immediately. Don't wait for any other instruction. So in this way, all the disciples and the guru went again. And after some time, then what happened is the horse relieved itself, passed stool on the road. Also the disciples, we have to follow the order of our Guru. So they went down and they pick up the stool and they put it on the cart. Now, this is a foolish following. An example not to follow. So the instructions of the spiritual master are meant for the disciple to understand. Therefore, tad vidhi panipatena pariprasnena sevaya. Pariprasna means that the disciple should exercise his intelligence and ask questions so that all his doubts may be cleared. And simply receiving instruction and not understanding them, that will be useless. The disciple will not be able to advance in his spiritual life if he has not properly understood, first of all. So pariprasnena is very important. Srila Prabhupada, when he was here, he complimented the Telugu people. Oh, they are very inquisitive. He was very happy about that. They are asking many questions. Prabhupada had traveled in many other places in India. There are some places where nobody is asking any questions. But here, many questions were put forward. Prabhupada was very much happy about it. So pariprasnena means not blind following. Sevaya, there must be service. So in this way, as I mentioned in the earlier sloka, Dhruva Maharaj accomplished something which is very difficult to accomplish. The word was Sudushkaram Karma Kritva, impossible to perform. Dhruva Maharaj was given very strict instructions and he carried out these instructions, which are impossible to perform, especially for a young boy like this. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the meaning, impossible to perform. What kind of activity is impossible or nearly impossible to perform? Very difficult to perform. So the answer, Srila Prabhupada explains the meaning. What is so very difficult to perform, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is very difficult, very difficult. Dhruva Maharaj was successful. He ultimately pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he pleased his spiritual master. When the spiritual master is pleased, then the Supreme Lord also will be pleased. But that is very rare, very difficult. So that is the example that we should follow. As Prabhupada explains here, we should follow in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj in trying to please the spiritual master and ultimately pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was successful. So, we should also try our best to be successful in that manner. That means, whatever instruction we have received from the spiritual master, we should understand clearly, we should dispel all possible doubts, and we should carry out the instruction to the best of our knowledge and ability, in this way trying to please the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. So that, as Prabhupada mentions by the end of the purport, in this life, we should try for that and achieve success in our Krishna consciousness. We should not be so lazy or delaying the matter. Let us see, when people are telling sometimes, you can practice Krishna consciousness now. Even now you are a family man, you have business and so on, many other responsibilities. But you should also practice. Chant Hare Krishna, come to the temple, read Srila Prabhupada's books, and in this way make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Many people say, so now I'm busy in family life. When I'm old, at the age of 70, 80, then when I'm retired, then I'll be able to follow these rules and regulations and principles of Krishna consciousness. Right now, I don't have time, frankly speaking. So that is the problem. Most of the people are in that mentality. They want simply materialistic life. And they postpone the advancement in spiritual life, which is actually the prime necessity for human beings. That is from Kaumara Charet Pragya Dharmam Bhagavatham Iha. Prahlad Maharaj says, from the age of 5, one should be trained as a brahmachari and start spiritual life from the very beginning of life, not at the end of life. At the end of life, first of all, where is the guarantee that we shall live up to the age of 70 or 80? We may die young. And at that age, our body, our mind will be completely sick or diminished, we lose our abilities and determination. So there is no question of starting spiritual life at an old age. It is Dhruva Maharaj started at a young age, and that is the proper following. We should undertake spiritual life at that age. Of course, now we are old and we have missed so many years we have wasted in materialistic pursuits. But at least now that we are hearing these Leelas, instructions of Narada Muni, the example of Dhruva Maharaj, so those who are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam in this manner, then they should decide from today onwards, I've been neglecting these spiritual activities. Now I want to, just like Dhruva Maharaj has done, I want to engage in Krishna consciousness in this way, looking for a spiritual master and so on. So that is the most important from these activities of Dhruva Maharaj, Narada Muni. Then everybody can follow in the footsteps, not by imitating, but by understanding the necessity of this fulfilling the mission of human life, that is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by engaging in chanting the holy names of the Lord, worshipping the Lord, and pleasing the spiritual master. So, in this way, Dhruva Maharaj went to Madhuvan and he took bath in the Yamuna, following the instruction of his spiritual master. In this way, he started his sadhana. Srila Prabhupada also took his disciples to Vrindavan, first in 1971. And there's a video, I think you must have seen, Srila Prabhupada coming to the bank of the Yamuna, along with his friend O.B.L. Kapoor, who was also a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. And together, along with some other disciples, they came to the bank of the Yamuna in a very jolly mood. We see how Prabhupada is so jolly, cracking jokes and laughing with the O.B.L. Kapoor. How about his name? Keshav? I forgot his name. Keshav something. His initiated name. And removing his upper cloth and taking baths in the Yamuna. So we understand, just like Dhruva Maharaj took baths in the Yamuna, so we also have the example of our spiritual master taking baths in the Yamuna, and all other disciples also at that time, they also took baths in the Yamuna, and they made it a regular exercise to go to the Yamuna and take baths there. Just like all the Gurukul boys, that was one of the items of their sadhana, to go to Yamuna and to take baths in the Yamuna. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada in 1972, he went to the Radhakund, Shamkund, and he took baths also there in the Radhakund, along with his disciples in November 72. And as one of the disciples started to play in the Radhakund, started to swim, splashing water on others, laughing and all that, Prabhupada stopped him. No, this is a holy place. It is not a swimming pool. We have come here to take baths in the Radhakund for purification, not to indulge in sense gratification. So that was a very strict warning from Srila Prabhupada, how to take baths in the holy river for purification, bodily, mental purification. That is the understanding, taking baths in a holy river, such as Yamuna, Ganga, and so on. So, those who were present at that time, they immediately understood the importance of taking baths in the Radhakund or in the Yamuna in a proper manner, with a proper mental attitude, with great respect and devotion. In this way, we can be benefited by following these instructions. The main ingredient is respect and devotion. That is the opposite of sense gratification. In this way, the mind can be controlled, and gradually, as Dhruva Maharaj here started fasting, not complete fasting for the first month, every 3 days or 3 nights, after 3 nights, he was taking a few fruits, such as this badara. Badara, just like Badrinath. Badrinath is famous for badara fruits. So, eating just a few simple fruits that are available in the forest, and nothing more than that. So just to keep body and soul together. So similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srila Prabhupada's instructions, personal instructions, was that one should eat only just to maintain oneself, not excessive eating, not luxurious eating, but simple prasadam. We should eat only prasadam, not going to a restaurant and eat whatever we want, and simply for sense gratification. Eating Krishna prasadam for the purpose of keeping the body fit for the service of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, sometimes Prabhupada admonished one of his sannyasis, "Oh, you have become so fat, that means you are eating too much. For a sannyasi to be fat like this is not a good sign. Please control your eating." So not only sannyasis, but brahmacharis and others, disciples, they should be very careful to control their eating. Dhruva Maharaj, a small boy, generally young boys, how they can control their eating, it is very difficult. But he was such an exalted personality that he fasted in this manner. He was in the palace earlier. In the palace, any amount of food, any luxurious food is available, and he was certainly eating in such a royal manner. Now, all of a sudden, he has to change his lifestyle, and this is very great achievement on the part of Dhruva Maharaj. So we should try to follow also those who are newcomers. They can try to understand how to eat only as much as necessary Krishna prasadam. not anything else. So many of in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, they were also very much austere in the matter of eating. An example of this is Raghunath Das Goswami, who had gone to Puri in order to have association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was staying not with the Lord, but little away. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to know how Raghunath Das is maintaining himself. So he was asking Swarup Damodar Goswami, how is Raghunath Das Goswami? How is maintaining himself? Then Swarup Damodar Goswami informed the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Raghunath Das is now at the door of the temple, of the Jagannath temple, and he is begging. He is standing like a beggar at the door of the temple, and whoever is inclined gives something for him to eat to maintain himself. In this way, Raghunath Das, he is also from a very rich family, but now he is taking the behavior of a beggar at the doorstep of a temple. Then Raghunath Das was thinking, why should I stand like this? I see people coming and going, and I'm observing, this one will give, no, he may not give. This one will not give. Oh, this one may give. So I'm observing like this, just like a prostitute. Prostitute will see men like this, going here and there. Oh, this man is very good. Let us try our best. No, this man is useless. Like that. He's thinking like this, so he gave up the position as a beggar. And he went to the Anandamaya Kshetra, where they are distributing free prasadam. So he sat there and he took little prasadam from the temple authority administration. Then he thought, no, why should I do like this? No, that is not good. I want to do some tapasya. So I don't want to maintain this body just like that. So he went to there was a drainage where from the kitchen the water was flowing, drainage water. In that drainage water, some grains of rice and other eatables which were refused coming out of the kitchen were flowing in the water. So he was putting his hand in the water, and whatever little things were there, some grains of rice, he was eating like this, as Krishna Jagannath Prasad. So in this way, Swarup Das Goswami informed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about how Raghunath Das Goswami maintained himself gradually, more and more, being more and more austere in his living, in his tapasya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear the news that Raghunath Das Goswami was making advancement in his spiritual life by becoming more and more austere. So that principle applies. Of course, we should understand the principle, but not imitating, because in this age, imitation will not do. And Srila Prabhupada gave us instructions to follow according to the present age. Just like regarding eating, Prabhupada encouraged his disciples in New York City at the beginning to eat as much, even more than what they wanted. Giving so many chapatis, so much. And there was a pot full of rasgulla, and the pot was there. Everybody could eat anytime, any amount. There was no restriction at all. Prabhupada was encouraging in this way his disciples or followers to eat as much or more. He was encouraging eating Krishna Prasadam. But gradually, Prabhupada gave instruction that we should eat only as far as necessary, just to maintain body and soul together. So in this way, Dhruva Maharaj very carefully, faithfully underwent his tapasya, and we shall see the next slokas how he was successful ultimately. Any other questions or comments?
Prabhuji, I heard Prabhupada ji once been questioned or heard expression from a reporter that Maharaj ji, you have put so much endeavor to propagate whole world, and we are very much happy to hear this. Coming from India this much far, you are putting your efforts so largely and intensively, and we are very much happy to see this Western world is getting elevated in a spiritual consciousness. And immediately Prabhupada ji expressed his thought. It is very hard to propagate in Western world, where the spiritual consciousness is lesser than in the scriptures of Bharat Desha. But it is more difficult to propagate in Bharat Desha, India itself. And here a question I am asking, that Bharat Desha consists, and ancient knowledge also in this history of Bharat Desha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha being presented in the consciousness of people. And in the education presented by Macaulay in the Western world and the whole world duly, in the academic education present being given. And Prabhupada ji told, it is easier to present where there is no concept of liberation in the education, and duly society is living so. And even dharma is also not there. And Narad Muni going and approaching Uttana Maharaj and telling, soothing him regarding Dhruva Maharaj. Dharma, Artha, Kama. He didn't mention about liberation. Likewise, in the education, the present education, no dharma also available. And Prabhupada ji telling it is easier to propagate here. And he is telling it is more difficult to propagate in India. And why he told in such a manner, Prabhuji? Here, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, people are aware, and Prabhupada ji telling in this contest in this manner. Please.
To propagate Krishna consciousness is difficult. Certainly everywhere, in India or even in foreign countries. But Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness to be preached everywhere, in every country of the world, including Africa, including China. Talking about China, there is a saying that in China, people eat everything. Whatever in the sky except airplanes, whatever is in the water except submarines, everything. And Prabhupada went to Hong Kong at one and he was surprised to see that I had heard from Vedic literature about Swapacha. But I never saw any Swapacha in India. Here in Hong Kong, I'm seeing Swapacha. So, in different countries, they have different living styles and different habits of eating and everything. So certainly, it should be easier in India. But the problem in India is that people are too much confident about this dharma. And they think that our ancestors were very great. So now we have opportunity to develop our country in the economic development. So let us take up this assignment. And whatever dharma has been done by our forefathers, that may be sufficient for ourselves. So that is the problem. They are too much confident. So to preach in India has also its own difficulties. But everywhere it is difficult. Only the acharya, those who are completely dedicated to preaching activity, they maybe they understand the difficulty. As even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was telling that to make a person Krishna conscious, it takes many gallons of blood. Not just 1 or 2 drops, gallons of blood. So that is the difficulty. Any other questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.